7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome in again to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It is Wednesday. That means it is golf week, or golf podcast week, or whatever. I'm not the tired one. What the hell am I messing up for? We're back in studio. Token Tony on mic one. Token, how did the Players Championship go for you, sir? I think you missed that podcast, didn't you?
Yeah, I was still feeling
Jackass.
not 100% at the time and wanted some extra rest before work, so...
Excuses are for losers. No excuses. Play like a champion today.
I ended up not doing too great on the golf for the...
Today, Junior.
Players Championship.
All right, and I know that kind of worked out, didn't it? Billy Madison and then he stutters. All right, and on mic 3, we got Tony Johnson, golf handicapper extraordinaire. I tell you what, he is one of 3 as best handicappers in this room.
One of the 3 best. That's great.
He's one of the 3 best handicappers that sits in these seats. Yeah, the golf handicappers.
Yeah, just golf specific.
Your Alliance of American Football handicapping is garbage.
I wouldn't think it's any good. Yeah, I wouldn't trust it being any good.
Although I will say this is a subtle dig. I have been tailing Nate Wall since the inception of the AAF, and it's been very profitable. Last week, it was not.
Okay.
So, tisk to Nate, but
it's still overall
we're still up. So
that's good.
Keep it rolling, Nate. At least one guy's tailing you. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, we want to come thank our sponsors here before we get into our dribble. Again, it's the Valspar Championship this week. And the Vegas Squares is presented by, of course, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, which you can listen to us at this moment every Monday and Wednesday. Sounds like we might have some big things in the works for a Sunday show. So, not Sunday show, a Wednesday live show. So, stay tuned for that. This show might be airing twice.
The question is, will it no longer be then a podcast if it airs live?
Well, if it re-airs, does that go back to the podcast format?
Yes, I think it does.
Okay, so we're still good.
Okay.
So, survey says, it checks out.
Okay.
All right, so like I said, we're talking about Valspar. Let's recap TPC. Since, Token, you really weren't here, let's hear kind of what you were thinking and what were you thinking?
I did take 2 people to win. I had Fleetwood, as you all know. And
we know that. We tweeted that one out on Vegas.
And I had
by the way, good job on the tweets, Tony Johnson.
No problem. I'm on point as always.
As well, I had Koepka in that, too. And
Brooks.
Yeah.
Did he even make the weekend?
He struggled to make the cut, but he did make it.
I couldn't remember. He was so far out of it, but... What a fun little tournament. I love watching it every year. It has a soft spot in my heart, especially as a casual golf fan, because I've played the course. So I like, watching these guys try to tame the course. And it's just kind of one of those things. You ever watch something on TV, like, I've been there. That's kind of one of those things. Especially everything that, if you ever watch a show or anything that's taped in Vegas, you, try to look for all the spots where and everything. So it was kind of like that for me with TPC. If I ever get a chance, I'd like to play it again someday, but I'm not paying the $465 they charge off peak.
Yeah.
So, Tony Johnson, how did we do going? I think we overall had a pretty successful TPC coming off of that Honda or the Bay Hill that didn't go quite well.
I would call that, yes, I would call it relatively successful, at least in my realm. We won.
I would like to first apologize for suggesting that anybody bet the no hole in one prop, as there were 6 of them.
That was the worst bet we've seen. Yes.
Well, had you guys not
there hadn't been one in 10
years,
yes.
And then they hit 6 right when you bet it.
And
I thought that was pretty
6.
kismet right there. Yes.
Fuck me, right? Yeah. Nailed it.
Yeah, so besides that prop that didn't come home, I also had, speaking of bad prop bets, I also had Jordan Spieth to top 20, and he missed the cut by about 4 shots. So
okay, I also said that Dustin Johnson would miss the cut, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, so we had some big misses, clearly, but we also had some nice hits. There were
Phil missing the cut was a nice hit.
Phil being anti-Phil, I think, was really beneficial. Bubba Watson faded the last couple of days as well, which was sort of the expectation on my end. So I won a couple matchups there against Bubba. So that was pretty nice. We were a slight winner with the matchups, and then I ended up making some live bets. We were having another D-Gen Sunday extraordinaire day out at Red Rock.
What a weird day.
It was a weird day, but there were some good live bets made there, and we're able to cash with Rory at a couple of different points during that tournament. And then
Rory, we had a lot of in play on Rory. Mm-hmm. I like, my favorite one was John Rahm stepping up 2 shots back on 17. He's 200 to 1. And I bet it for $2, and he promptly puts it in the drink.
Yeah.
So I lit $2 on fire. But you talked about D-Gen Sunday. I literally likened that to a roller coaster. We went up, and then we went down.
Yeah.
D-Gen Sunday will do that.
As we're recording the podcast, we went up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kids, don't try this at home, but Chinese tennis betting late at night is it's where it's at.
It was successful
It was so successful, I did it again the next night while I was at work, so I had something to sweat at work. So 2 guys I'd never heard of, Wu versus Oliveira. I just figured I picked the guy who had more letters in his last name, and it worked out. So, you were talking about Rory. Obviously, he was the TPC, the Players' Championship winner. What did you notice? Another prop bet I liked is I had the winner over 13.5, which ended up coming in really well. Kind of worked out with Pepperell getting in there early with the 14. So I was like, well, I locked this one up, even though Rory had 5 or 6 holes left to play.
Yeah, it was sort of, we had brushed on it a little bit during the podcast about how we thought that scoring would actually be possibly better, despite the colder temperatures. That scoring is going to be better just because it was going to be easier to move the ball around the course with the grass in its full growth stage, and the rough not being too bad, at least comparably speaking to previous years. And we saw that exactly. We also had relatively good weather. There was some rain overnight from Saturday to Sunday, so it softened the course a little bit too. And then there was a little bit of rain on Sunday as well too. But the course definitely looked different in the sense that balls were holding a lot more than seemingly they used to. You used to have to run up balls on certain holes. On 16, you were never able to stick the green, it seemed like, on an approach shot from 230, 240 yards on that short par 5.
Like you had to run it up or land over onto the left.
For sure, and yet we saw guys holding the green both on Saturday and Sunday, even before the rain came in. So I thought the course played certainly differently, but it was a nice change. It was a welcome change, and I thought it was still a very tough test. Obviously, you had guys making big numbers. But really fair and good. And then I think if you get the wind up at any point and slightly colder temperatures, you're going to have the scores go back down to some of the rougher years in May as well. So I think it still can be weather dependent, but certainly a welcome change and a great change having it go from May to March.
Fair enough. All right, you talked about, like we said, Rory McIlroy takes this, and he's obviously been playing incredibly well this year. We've got, 2 to 3 more. 3 more, I believe, tournaments until the Masters. Is it 2 or 3?
It's 3 more. So we have this week, and then we have the match play as well as Punta Cana,
right?
And then we have the Valero Texas Open in San Antonio, which is one of my favorite courses of the year, by the way. So, yes, love that course.
All right, so I don't want to foreshadow too far, but, we all know the struggles that Rory has at Augusta. Do we take this for what it is right now? He's playing well. Nothing can stop him. He's moving up as one of the favorites. He was already one of the top 5 anyways, but he's actually creeping in on DJ at this point as one of the favorites to win the Masters. I know you're a guy, Token, you're a guy that can bet him whenever you find good value. Tony, you say you like to wait until Augusta's pretty close to happening, but at this point, is there a Token somewhere in the value range? Should you be taking him before his value gets maybe possibly worse or, worse odds?
It really depends what you feel he's going to do in the next 2 weeks or so, I imagine, unless if you think he's going to shoot so low that he might be the favorite going in.
I believe he's taken this week off, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think that will probably help him drop back to reality almost. I think right now he's
currently tied with DJ at this point at 10 to 1.
Yeah, I
believe he was 12 or 14 going into this TPC.
I believe he was 12, yeah. Yeah, I think in my mind he's overvalued at 10 to 1. 12, I would like him a little more, but I'd still want to bet him at 12 to 1.
So, Tony, do you see this as a wait-and-see approach, or do you imagine the more he plays well, or the less maybe he plays, kind of ups his value or decreases his value toward Augusta?
My guess is these lines aren't really going to move at all until the week, just because of the setup that we have going forward here. We're not going to get a lot of play. Both in this tournament, as we see with the field, it's a lighter field this week, and then in San Antonio, that will be an extremely light field, comparatively speaking, in regards to top players. Match play doesn't really define very much. That's a very, very different animal.
No, but if you play poorly, it can. I mean, it's what people see when Rory plays poorly, when Tiger plays poorly. That makes headlines. And also when they play well too.
Yeah, I mean it will, but there's not a lot of viewership in the early part. Those early rounds, those early matches. It's not. Yes, I mean I agree that it might, and there might be a headline or two, but I think that's going to be a pretty trivial thing comparatively speaking to a headline of being very, very poor on a course at Sawgrass or whatever, which is a mainframe tournament. So I don't think that there's going to be much movement at all going forward until we maybe have some bets that come in during Masters Week, and then you'll see some jockeying up and down. But at this point, it's probably roughly locked in. But yeah, I mean, can DJ get back to a sole favorite if he wins this week or comes close? Yeah, for sure. I mean, he certainly controls his own destiny in that regard. But besides that, there's some other names I think that can move up and down. I guess if you're really, really confident with certain players and they're not in the field, I would suggest waiting, certainly, especially if they're not in this field and they may not play in a couple weeks too. So I would suggest waiting. The no news is usually good news in regards to future bets. Just because if someone's not in the headlines, most likely the betting public is not going to be on them. So that's the only thing I can recommend in that sense. But other than that, I think it's what we see right now is roughly I think what we'll get as Masters Week comes upon us.
All right, fair enough. All right, well let's move on to Valspar here, and it is played just outside of Tampa. It is a really cool course. So continuing the trend of courses I've played this week is another one. It's a really fun course, really challenging, and as a golfer who likes to see the whole course, this one allowed me to do that. I was all over the board on this one. So that being said, even though I played the course, you're my guy who go to talk about the course and what kind of golfer that favors. We do it every week, so.
It's a fun part of the podcast. Yeah, it's nice that you've played these back to back to take that perspective on it. And this one, I think you'll find, having been born and raised in Florida, this course is unlike a lot of others in Florida. It's long and a lot of double dog legs, and not along any sort of stretch of main body of water. A lot of elevation change on this golf course. It doesn't seem like
sneaky elevation.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit into the aura of what we feel like Florida golf is, but it's a fantastic. Well, at least it looks beautiful on TV. It's one of my favorite things to look at on TV, at least with the way the course is presented.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so fantastic spot here, and I like how the tour usually tries to focus on courses that are very native to the area, that I guess showcase the area of the country where they're at, and I like how this tournament has come about over the last 10 to 15 years or so in regards to this course. Doesn't really feel like it's Florida at all, but it's an awesome place. So that's kind of my first take on it, is that don't expect to see holes around along the ocean and things like that. It's really going to be
it's inland for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then the second thing I think that's interesting is that it is the most challenging par 71 on tour. So they play only about 10 or 11 par 71s during the year, but this one is the hardest. And the signature part of the course is what they call the snake pit, which are the three finishing holes, 16, 17, and 18. And they finish as a par 4, par 3, and par 4. In every edition of the Valspar, all three of those holes have played over par every single year. So it's a daunting finish with really no breathing room in sight. In fact, if you can get through the last three holes and even par, I mean, you've done yourself a service, and you've gained at least a shot or two on the field overall in any given round. So that's something to look out for. Not a lot of spots to make birdie really at all on those holes. Even with a quality approach shot, greens are tough. They're undulating. They're tough. It's just a difficult finishing stretch. So, getting to maybe the type of player of who can try to tame a course like this. It's a little bit different than what we've seen maybe in previous weeks, especially leading up to a lot of these tournaments, the ones in California and at least in the Southwest, where you could see some of the longer hitters, some of the guys that were more wide open. They were able to take advantage of that and really go low on some of these courses where you can kind of hit it wherever you needed to off the tee. And this one is very different than that. We've seen throughout the years that some of the players that have done really, really well in this tournament are great scramblers. And they're great putters, especially from within 15 feet. This course is so hard. It's so hard to hit greens on this course. It's actually the third hardest course to hit in greens in regulation over the last 2 years on the PGA Tour. So we assume that the players are going to miss a lot of greens throughout the week. So it's the guys that are getting up and down. And I think you had mentioned yesterday, or someone had mentioned to me about bogey avoidance, the old bogey avoidance stat. And
it definitely was not me.
It wasn't you, okay. I can't remember who it was, but it was. It's interesting that I don't put a lot of stock into a statistic like that all that often, but this week is the time to do so because, again, you're going to miss so many greens that you're going to have to get up and down, and the old bogey avoidance stat, being able to still salvage pars, becomes a huge thing. So, that's pretty much it. It's the third hardest course to hit in regulation, 11th hardest in proximity to the hole, so closest to the hole when even hitting the green in regulation, and also 15th hardest in fairways to hit as well. So you're really not
probably
getting.
Why I was all over the.
Not getting any space here. And
they were very narrow fairways.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very, very tough. So
and the trees are right there on the edge,
right on it.
Usually you have a lot of courses where you have the fairway, first rough, second rough, then some other shit, and then the trees. No, the trees are like on that second rough.
Right there. Yeah. So it's kind of fun in that sense that I think we're going to be looking at a different type of player here. And one of the reasons that I think we haven't seen Dustin Johnson since 2010 in this course is because it really doesn't favor him at all. I mean, this is not a type of course that you would want to have a long hitter that'll spray it every so often. Is just not going to do all that well, especially guys that can struggle in and around the green, which has never been his forte. So it's really interesting. I'm favoring guys that are controlled drivers of the golf ball that are very willing to hit less club off the tee in order for position, and are willing to even lay up to a green per se, and like a long par 4, that are just willing to play position and can rely on their short games, can rely on their ability to get up and down to make tough pars on a course where tough pars is where it's at. So some previous winners here, guys like Adam Hadwin, who's got an awesome record here, and also with a win. Is exactly the type of player we're looking at. Short, stockier player who just gets it in the fairway. If he misses a green, he can rely on being one of the top 5 to 10 guys every year from 5 to 10 feet in making putts. So that's my take on the course, and we'll talk about more players as this goes on. But that's the type of player, just to give a big enough name, I think that this fits for.
Well, actually, let's kind of get into that. You're right. I mean, the other type of player you're really looking for is somebody who can brush off mistakes too, because it looks like since 2004, actually 2006, excuse me, the margin of victory has been by either playoff, 1 stroke, or 2 strokes. The largest margin of victory since 2006 has been 2 strokes.
Oh, okay.
Kevin Streelman over Boo Weekley.
Yeah, I know Spieth won a few years ago in a playoff with a nice little birdie.
Yep, Spieth has won. We've got a few guys who actually aren't going to play, and like you said, kind of go inside the mind, Tony, of DJ, who, like you said, this course doesn't favor him at all. So what does he have to gain by playing this? Just
no idea.
Playing golf?
I have no idea. He's only played it twice. He's missed a couple of times.
And yet he's still the 5-1 favorite.
Yeah, that's very shocking.
Well, I think as a sports book, they know, hey, look, the field's smaller. DJ is the best player in the world. They're going to get some action at 5-1. And he may play. We all saw his track record at TPC, and he's still he finished T6 or something.
His first top 10 and now 11 tries. So it's hard to argue with the results. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're right. Let's move into what I consider the favorites, and that's usually the first clump right there. We talked about DJ, probably a fade alert or a non-bet at this point. John Rahm played well for most of TPC, except for probably the back 5 or 6 holes. And he's 9-1. Jason Day, a guy we've been not sure of. You said you really didn't want to look at any tailing options, but you were looking more the fade until he could figure out kind of what he was doing with his life. Well, he's been playing some pretty good golf lately.
When he's playing, especially full,
he's 10-1 as
rounds,
well.
Yeah.
So
when he actually plays the full 4 rounds, he's on it usually. So
a couple of guys here in the field are also previous winners of this in that first clump. Paul Casey won last year. He's a defending champion over Patrick Reed. Casey's 22-1. Patrick Reed's 18-1. However, Paul Casey last week was atrocious. I believe he missed the cut and he was like 4 or 5 over. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you have those two. Also, Jim Furyk, a former winner as well. He's also 30-1. He won this event in 2010 by 1 stroke. So, again, that first clump of guys, Sergio also 16-1 in that, Webb Simpson 18-1. Who are we looking at in that first clump of the favorites? Because those are the guys where, obviously, like you said, DJ and Rahm, while they may play spectacular, they really don't have a lot of value. So we look, I mean, if you like to take them, fine, but that's a good clump of guys to start with.
Yeah, I'm focused on a couple guys in this sense.
Wait, let me guess.
Okay.
Just in this realm, right?
Yeah, this clump, as you like to say, yeah.
I'm going to go with Patrick Reed and Webb Simpson.
So I am focused on 2 guys, and they are Patrick Reed and Webb Simpson. Standard, right?
Nailed it.
Of course.
Nailed it. Boy, I am Nostradamus on this bucket.
That's pretty impressive. I'll give you that. There's really not much to be said besides a great track record and a fit more than anything. So I think the best fit this week is probably Webb Simpson, especially with what he's been able to attain in regards to putting over the last couple of years. He's currently over the last, if you take the last 2 years statistically together, he's 10th in scrambling on the tour. He's 4th in bogey avoidance, and he's.
I love that new term, bogey avoidance. It's a buzzword for me, bogey avoidance.
And he's outright. He's
how I play golf.
He's 3rd in putts made in
triple
percentage
bogey avoidance
in 5 feet to 10 feet. So, yeah, I mean it's a course that fits him very, very well. He has missed 4 cuts here in 9 years, so that is a little concerning. Although he hasn't missed one in the last 3, but of those 5 cuts that he's made, all 5 have been top 20s. So when he's made the cut, he's done quite well. And again, his record here, not only recently but as just coming in, how well he's playing. I'm happy to get somewhere in the 20-1 realm or whatever you can find it around. I think is totally fine. Just enough value here for me. And then Patrick Reed, another guy that's been playing exceptionally well, really under the radar over the last maybe 2 or 3 months. I think people are still sort of remembering the Ryder Cup time with how poorly he played, not only by himself or with Woods or what have you. And he was pretty abysmal during that time. And really
some success here too. Last 3 or 4 years.
He has. Yeah, the last 4 years, his scoring average is under 70. Which is unbelievable on a course like this. Yeah, 69.6 over the last 4 years. He's made every cut but one since he's played and since he's played out here, and it's just I think it's a good spot as well, especially in not only a tamer field as we've talked about, but some of the guys towards the top. I'm not a fan of, so I know you like me to get into every once in a while some of the negatives as well, and I think we've touched on.
Which
DJ.
one of these faves should you really be laying off? Obviously, DJ from value wise. I mean, if you really feel that strongly, sure, but
right.
Which one of these guys, or few of guys, should you really be laying off in the first clump? I know you're not a Gary Woodland fan. He's also in this clump as well.
Yeah, I would not be betting Gary Woodland until he comes back to the pack in some sort of realm. I think Woodland has achieved the top point of where he's going to be. I just cannot. Again, in regards to short game and getting around the green, I cannot see him winning a big event where you need to have You need to have all facets of your game going. And it just, Gary, to me, again, I like him. There's nothing against him, in that
He's
sense.
missing little bits and pieces right now where it's critical, especially on a course like this, where he needs to make that push in the top 5, if not win.
I agree completely. And then Jason Day, I kind of was on stay away last week. This week I'm going to actually just kind of be against, because this injury. So I saw a statistic that one of the great Twitter golf fans put up of Jason Day when he mid tournament withdraws. The next week that he plays, he averages like a tie for 18th or something like that. And then if he does play the week after that, on the second week right after that, he's only done that 3 times, and he's missed the cut twice, and the other time he was like 40th or something like that. And this is a real injury that he has. It's
plus he's dealing with that vertigo or whatever too, and
yeah, it can be a thing. So I'm actually going to.
I've had it. It's a thing.
Especially if he's in this 10-1 realm, because he just had a great week last week. I think there's going to be some good spots in the matchup realm where we can get really high quality players like Garcia or Rahm or even Webb Simpson, where I think there's definitely going to be some
our
value.
plus money in a matchup. Even
Let's just fade him on every matchup and hope he withdraws.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at there, and those are my.
It worked out in the Honda, didn't it?
It did.
It worked out for us in the Honda. We faded him on 3 different
6
matchups,
holes.
and he withdrew after 6
Amazing.
holes. So, all right, Token. So in this first clump, I guess that's our new word for these. First clump: DJ, Rahm, Day, Sergio, Simpson, Reed, Woodland, Casey, and Furyk. Who you like, who you don't like, and who should we stay away from, and maybe make a pick on?
Like Tony was saying, stay away from Day as well as Woodland. I also like Reed in this tournament. He usually does pretty well with a lot of top 10 finishes in this tournament, and he can play pretty well on this course. I mean, with a lot of dog legs, he can find the shorter clubs and find the better spots for bogey avoidance for sure.
Buzzwords. All right, so let's move forward to what I like to call the middle of the pack clump. And basically what I do is I take William Hill and then I just scroll down again. Middle of the pack, a few guys that stood out to me. Guys playing well. Could be a short-term thing. Bless you.
Thank you.
Brandt Snedeker at 35-1. Ryan Moore really likes this course. He's 35-1 as well. You got Stenson and Bradley in that range. Lucas Glover in the middle of the pack there at 40-1. Bubba, always a fan favorite at 40-1. One of Token's boys, Louis Oosthuizen, at 40-1. And I'm going to guess that this is Tony Johnson's boy, Kevin Kisner, at 40-1.
Yeah, Kiz, I mean, when Kiz is playing well, he's just a streaky player.
He played freaking great last week, too.
He's just a streaky player, so I like to be on the streaky players when they're playing well.
Does he always look like he has a wad of chew in his mouth?
Yes,
okay.
Always. Ever since he stepped on tour, yes, he always looks like that.
I'm like, do they let you chew? And I'm like, maybe he just looks like that.
I think he kind of does. He's just like an old school Georgia boy, and he just that's his look. That's what he does. So,
it just looks like he's got a fat lip.
Yeah. Yeah, Kiz is a fun guy to watch because he's an old grinder, and I hate to put myself into the realm, but usually the guys that he not old in the sense that he's old, kind of but thing. Yes, exactly. Just the way his game is, he grinds it out, he slaps it around, and when he's scoring really well, he's not really missing fairways, and he just makes everything from within like 10 to 15 feet. Just kind of fun to watch. But yeah, so Kisner, I'm just not sure at 40-1 is good enough or long enough odds here.
Wow, all right.
That's the only thing I question. Yes, I do like him, and this event makes a lot of sense. And we are still on Bermuda grass, which is he's much better on that type of grass than pretty much anywhere else. So I do like that aspect of it, but. Besides that, there's not really a whole lot of guys I like in this realm. There's definitely some fades in the sense of guys I'm just trying to avoid. So the first one is Bubba Watson. He's either, for me, the great thing about Bubba, he's so polarizing that it's usually either a fade or it's a bet you can get behind if he's got long enough odds because he either loves a course or he doesn't like it. And this one, he doesn't seem to like and or never plays. He's only played this, I believe, once in his entire career, unless he played before 2010. I did not look before 2010. And he missed the cut 2 or 3 years ago. And added to that, he has played a lot of tournaments this year. Usually he back ends his schedule a lot more than in the early part, and that's just because I think of location more than anything else. He prefers to play courses in the Midwest and in the Texas area. I think just the way he likes those courses, or I don't know. I'm not really sure. They fit his eye a little bit better, but and also in the Northeast, he likes some of those courses up there too, like in the Travelers and such. But to me, he's played 5 more tournaments at this point this year than he played last year already, and I'm not really understanding why the schedule has changed. Usually, we see top end players, their schedule regresses as they get a little bit older. Now he's played a lot more this year, so I don't know what that is, but that to me doesn't bode very well. I don't like. I mean, he's played now 4 out of the last 6 weeks, and I'm going to fade him. If he keeps playing, he's going to have to play next week, I assume, in the match play. So this is a guy I think you want to be fading at this point until he gets some rest and until he gets on a course that makes a whole lot of sense. Some other guys that are on the fade, I know that Ryan Moore has done really well here historically, but he had his first top 30 last week in almost 10 months, and he's just still not playing great. I'm not going to be on Ryan Moore, another relatively streaky player, local guy out here for us in Las Vegas, so it's always nice to root him on, but he's not playing really well right now.
You just hope he makes the cut and does all right during the weekend.
That's pretty much it. I don't think he can win. To me, he just can't win. One other guy. I'm sorry. There is a guy I'm considering betting on, and that's Cabrera Bello. I know I was unsure last week, and he had a miserable. Talk about a miserable week.
He did not make the clump.
Yeah, it was just terrible. But
he didn't finish last, but he was
but he was close.
He did not make my middle of the pack clump.
It was close.
He fell outside of that.
Oh, he did. Oh, so
all I do is I go to Furyk, and then I go, okay, who's after Furyk? And whatever the screen says, maybe my screen needs to be bigger, but he is literally the next one after Bubba Watson.
All right, well, fair enough.
So he did not make the clump.
9 top 25s in the last 10 tourneys.
Playing well, except for last week.
Yeah. So, and this again, course fits him absolutely perfectly. Great putter in short distance, really good around the green, and just
45
he has
to
that
1.
discipline where he can do those critical layups and find the flat surfaces in the fairway.
Absolutely. So that is where I'm at in this clump.
Isn't that what we're all looking for? Just to have discipline and find the flat surface in the fairway?
It's easier said than done.
It feels like the concept of golf.
Yep. A lot easier said than done.
That is very true.
True that.
I mean, some golfers have the big ego and they just want to go for the distance and put themselves at a tameable spot, and they'll find themselves in a bunker in a weird spot with the lip in the way and all that, and be struggling to almost find the bogey.
All right, so at this point, the middle of the pack, you're liking. You said Kisner's not value enough, but you like the Cabrera Bello, who's 45 to 1.
I'm going to bet Rafa at 45. Kisner's close. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there, but it's close.
What about you, Toke?
Still not taking anybody yet. I do like the Kisner. I like Bradley as well, but I feel more confident in Kisner than Bradley.
I feel more confident that if you speak into the mic, I could actually hear what you're saying.
Blah.
When you talk away from the microphone, it basically is dead.
It's amateur hour. What I was saying was, yeah.
Don't I pay you enough?
Something like that, yeah. I like Kisner,
I'm just gonna
and
get
I
a
like
gas
Bradley,
station
but I'm leaning towards more Kisner right now. So,
right on.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into. I consider 50 to 1 and above long shots here at this point. So it basically opens up a whole realm of guys from 50 to 1 all the way to 150 to 1. A couple of guys I had my eye on in there. Obviously, we have to always give a nod to your boy Schwartzel. He's 50 to 1. He's won this tournament before.
Yes, he is.
In 2016.
Yep.
So I'm sure you'll be on him for at least 500. Ollie Schneiderjans had a good TPC.
I actually like Ollie more than Schwartzel in this.
No.
Yeah.
That's blasphemous.
I know. It's
Brian
mind-blowing.
Brian Harmon at 75 to 1 also had a pretty good week last week. And a new guy that I've taken a fond liking to. I don't know why. But Joel Dahman at 125 to 1. I already have a $5 bet in on him. So he probably won't win.
Is he going on the blacklist soon?
No. When you're minus 140 in matchup play and you constantly get beat and miss cuts, then you go on the blacklist.
Fair enough.
When you're 125 to 1, or when you're facing Jim Furyk and he has the 4 rounds of his life, and you're plus 135, you're not on the blacklist yet.
Fair enough.
Okay.
When I'm laying extra juice and you consistently say "fuck your couch" and miss cuts, that's when you go on the blacklist. Talking about you, Norin.
Yep.
So, all right, those are my interesting ones. Of course, I always like Steve Stricker. I didn't bet him, but I always have a soft spot for Steve Stricker. Long shots, boys.
A lot of guys here I like. I think this is a nice spot here with a little bit of a lighter field and a week where short game and a lot of guys I think can really get back to the get into the mix. This is not going to be one of those skill reigns supreme weeks. I think you can have a one-off winner, and so I'm going to try to find a one-off winner, and hopefully we do. So I'll run through these names pretty quickly here, but I think you'll get the gist after we go through it with the type of player that we're looking for. So Bud Cauley at 100 to 1. I've been on Bud for some matchups as the weeks have progressed here, the last 3 or 4. Bud got red hot about a year and a half ago. And he was part of the Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas sort of clan up and coming. He was one of those great junior golfers and was moving along very nicely. Had a win and 4 or 5 top 10s a couple of years ago. And then was in a pretty serious car accident and was out for about 4 or 5 months. Even when he came back last year, he wasn't exactly 100% still. He was playing, he was okay, but he was inconsistent, I would say, at best. As the year turned, he obviously was not playing in the FedEx Cup in the playoffs or anything like that. He took a lot of time off, came back at the tail end of this new season, which was last year, and then into this year, and it seems like he's gotten better and better as the weeks progress. This is one of those guys that he's now playing in his 4th straight week, and I actually usually would want to fade and be against guys like this. This is the type of player that I want to be on because I think all of the play is actually helping him a lot.
Bud Cauley still?
Bud Cauley, yes. So Bud has a game that can transcend any golf course. He doesn't really have a whole lot of weaknesses. He's a really, really strong ball striker, a really smart player, and a guy that when he gets hot with the putter, he may not be a great putter overall, but when he gets hot, he's tough to beat. So I like Bud here. I've been watching him a lot the last couple of weeks, and he just keeps making cuts, and he keeps driving forward on the weekend. So Bud
That's
at 100.
a positive sign, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Russell Henley at 100, same type of player, short little grinder who can just get it done in and around the green. Kevin Streelman, who has won this tournament before, 125 to 1 is what I see here. May not necessarily win here, but if you can find maybe a matchup at some point somewhere, that would be really beneficial. But still at 125 to 1, when he puts it together, he's tough. And here's a player that I kind of make fun of because he's a tall, awkward Canadian, but he played great last week. A guy named Nick Taylor. Who he's really starting to roll. He finished 16th very quietly.
That's who I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. So Nick is a guy.
No stealing my bit.
He's very similar in the Alex Noren realm, where he's just pure streak,
pure shit,
100% just streak.
I hate this guy already.
Yeah, when he's on, he's just tough, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world or what tournament it is. When he's playing well and he's confident, he's a guy you want to be on. So
he's going off at
125. I have, so I'm not really sure there. And then
100 on William Hill right now.
100, okay.
Yeah.
Last guy, Brendan Steele, who I know is probably not listed in very many places.
His first name should be Buns of.
Westgate. What? Wow. Nice.
I know where his
Westgate
mind's at.
has him listed at 150 to 1. If you bet offshore, you probably even do better than that.
You might even close to 2.
Again, pure matchup of the course and situation. Steele has struggled the last maybe year or so until the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's now made 4 cuts in a row, a couple of top 30s in that realm, and he's incredibly good around the green. Also, pay attention. I know we're not in San Antonio right now, but he's got a great record in San Antonio as well, and he's starting to play really well here. And if he keeps continuing to be forgotten in these 150 to 1 range, we can really do some damage in a couple weeks. But Brendan Steele at 150 is incredible here for a guy that's playing well and fits perfectly on this course.
Well, let me ask you a question, because actually what you're talking about with the long shots, actually, I was looking this up. Okay, so you have him at 150 to 1, correct, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm looking at Sportsbook AG, which is the only offshore sports account that I have. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at top 5 matchups, and Brendan Steele is actually 40 to 1 for top 5.
Wow.
Okay.
Is there any value in betting something like that? You talked about Nick Taylor. He's 27 to 1. So okay, look, the guy doesn't the guy doesn't, win the tournament, but he's in contention. Something like 40-1 for Brendan Steele. If he happens to bogey a hole out, and you're obviously going to bet the 150-1 as well, but you almost have like a fail-safe here in that spot. At 40-1, you got 5 spots. I mean, that feels pretty good. I feel like if you have a guy winning, the value should be a little closer to almost like 25-30-1. I don't know.
You're right. I haven't thought about that before. To be honest with you, I don't bet a lot of top 5s, top 10s, top 20s. Some in the bigger events, but
it seems like in a spot like this, I mean, like I said, even
you're going to go for it. Yeah, I mean that's fine.
Even catching some of the guys at the top. I mean, Kevin Kisner 10-1. If he has a great day, you still have him at 40-1 to win. But if somehow he happens to get into a playoff or something like that, and things don't go his way, he still may finish T2, or T4.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, just a curious thought because I'm kind of looking at things like that because, if you have a guy in such a long distance and he gets, like the J.B. Holmes, the 125 you had.
Right.
What if, say, he would have, kind of gone to the right on 18, and you lost out on 125-1.
Absolutely.
He may have had a little backup at 40-1 or, whatever. So, just a thought.
I mean, 21 or something.
Nothing against it, absolutely.
It feels like it might be an interesting kind of backup to your play there. So
there you go.
Or I was actually, like I said, I was trying to get your opinion because it either feels like you're back up to your play or you're just torching off profit at that point.
I mean, I'm
or you win both, really.
You can certainly win both. Absolutely. I haven't really. I tend not to bet a lot of those. I try to focus on who I think can actually win and get as much value as I can on that number, and try not to play they didn't play well in the final round or they did. The short term type of stuff. I try to stay away from. I try to be as I don't know what the great term is here, but I've struck myself so hard to find value with winning the tournament that I'd have to almost think differently. At least this is the way I operate, maybe, in regards to can somebody top 5. Because I think there are people I avoid if I don't think they can win. Like we talked about Cabrera Bello last week. I didn't feel like he could win the tournament. I don't care whether he played well or not. It doesn't really matter. I actually, even if he had played well, I don't think he could have won the tournament. So could he maybe have top 5'd that tournament? Possibly. Like that's a different bet to me. So to me, I think you have to focus on a different wager almost more than anything else. I know it sounds close.
No, I get it. Your betting scheme seems to be like I like to tail guys that I think can win, not only in the futures market but also in the matchup market.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Well, that's why I was just kind of thinking about, I mean, I don't know. You probably fire a lot more in a golf event than I fire in a golf event. But if I've got a guy at 125-1 and I'm sweating him on Sunday, it would be nice to maybe have him in a top 5 matchup as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, nothing wrong with having a top 5.
Top 20.
Or top 10, too, if you want to bet a top 10.
Or T10, yeah. Top 20, let's see. Where's your boy, Buns of Steel? He's 7-1 for a top 20. So, I mean, you can, if you feel so confident, almost you can get him at all 3 levels and have a little rake back in case he doesn't win.
Mm-hmm.
So, just my...
Yeah, just need a top 20 for a little slight profit.
Well, you figure if you're betting a guy at 150-1, let's just use my bankroll, for example, on golf. Mm-hmm. I'm probably throwing on 150-1, $5.
Maybe 10.
Yeah, maybe. Probably more likely $5. Like I threw 5 on... Domin at 125-1. Well, at top 20 here, let me see if I can find him again.
You'll level the betting. I'm sure you'll bet more on that, right?
Sure. If you feel that confident, you'll probably throw $20 on him at. I must have passed him, but I'm guessing his odds are probably, 20-1 maybe, or not 20-1, but maybe 10-1. Why can I not find this fucker?
Are you looking for Joel?
Joel Domin, yeah.
125-1.
No, for his top 20. Is
what
yeah. Oh, top 20 will be less than 10.
It would probably be 5-1.
5-ish, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Rough ballpark, yeah.
Why is he not here? Come out wherever you are. Motherfucker. This dead air is awesome.
Yeah, that's nice.
Token, while I look for this guy, why don't you tell me some of your long shots that you like?
One that you just mentioned, Dahlman.
Wow.
Really like him, yeah. 125-1, probably putter 10 on him.
Anywhere.
He does not exist.
The limit does not exist.
Sneederjans for sure, I like him too. I mean, but he's been a little streaky, a lot of miscuts the last month, except for last week with a 16th place finish.
Well, I give up. I can't find him. Fuck him.
Yeah. That's about it. I'm definitely on the Fade Schwartzel pick. I kind of like Kevin Na, too. But
Fade Schwartzel.
Wow.
Fade Schwartzel.
Wow.
Does he know this?
Wow.
Yep.
That
Really
is
does.
the biggest
Have you
surprise
two been
of the
fighting
podcast.
lately?
No, I just...
Really? The bed's gone cold? Have you two been fighting?
Fading.
God damn.
Fading Schwartzel. I never would have thought I would have heard those
51,
words.
yeah.
How about KJ Choi at 50-1, just a top 20? His best day is just long behind him. He's won this tournament twice.
What about Kenny Perry? Is
Oh,
Kenny
no, it's
Perry on that?
top 5, excuse me. I'm trying to bounce between 3 pages. And
Is Kenny Perry on that list?
sure.
Is he in the field?
Yeah.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Kenny Perry, top 20, is 20-1.
Oof.
Oh, yeah.
I know who'll be betting that. Well, you can't bet it here on
Yeah, I
shore,
know.
but if you sign up for an sportsbook account,
Yeah.
There you go.
this too can be yours.
Kenny Perry. Wow.
Yeah.
He just finished like
he's,
50th on the Champions Tour a couple
Yeah,
weeks
he's
ago.
seeing
so,
off with
yeah.
Hurley and Oosthuizen.
Oh.
You don't like Louis? You don't like Louis this week?
Not on him this week, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Could you?
Yeah, he just doesn't play that smart of golf for this course, in my mind. I might look for him to bet against the matchups and all that.
Yeah, I don't know why is he 30-1 in that realm. Like I don't understand.
Yeah.
He's been playing well.
He's 50-1.
Oh, okay, I'm at the
40, I thought.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough.
Oh,
So I have
no,
to
he's
lie.
40-1 on William.
40.
Hill,
Okay.
He's 40-1.
Even so, 40 is just weird. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Maybe they know something we don't.
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, all right, well, let's look up some matchup bets here going in for the tournament, and hopefully, if we get some round matchup bets, I say this every week, but every week we lie to you. Tony Johnson will post them on Twitter,
Yeah, I haven't really done any of the Twitter thing at all.
and he says the same thing every week.
I know. I get too wrapped up into what's going on, and I don't even think about writing. Yeah, I don't do it. I just don't do it. I'm
You
not.
could text me, and I will do it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
I
I've
could
been
do that.
slacking on Twitter as well, but last week I did have one pick, and it came through pretty easily, so.
The tennis pick, right?
Yep.
That was nice.
I did
Solid.
post one of your picks that you texted in the morning when I woke up on Sunday was the Rory over Day, the 130 minus 130.
Oh, okay. So one of my picks did get through.
Yeah, you're 1 for 1.
Oh, that's exciting.
But that was all I got, so I was like, hey, he's not going to
You
post it
went
on
with
Twitter. So.
Yeah, you went with it.
I went
That's
with
a smart move.
I go with the information I'm given here, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, so matchup bets. You two gentlemen take the floor.
Well, as always, it's going to be a bit of a mirror of the guys that we like in the futures market for the most part. There's a couple of
Added
exceptions
names
to the
and all
rule,
that,
yeah. But so we'll start. I'm just going to start reeling them off here, and then jump right in whenever you'd like, Token. So I have Bud Cauley in 2 matchups, one over Ches Reavie and the other one over Chesson Hadley. Reavie is minus 105. Hadley is plus 105. And again, this is just pro Bud Cauley. I'm not necessarily against Chesson Hadley. I would be anti Ches Reavie. Reavie
I agree with that.
He's a
statement,
Southwest guy, and he plays really well in most of the events out in L.A. and in Arizona. But Florida, he has not had a lot of success. So if you had to choose one of those, I would choose the minus 105 one. I know you have to pay a little bit more for that, but it's probably a better option. This one is controversial here because a lot of people are on Jason Kokrak, at least, or Kokrak, however his name is. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's 8 of 9 here.
That's
with
exactly what his name is.
Well, there you go. 4 top 20s, 8 of 9, and made cuts, and he's made, I think, 16 straight cuts worldwide, actually, coming into this tournament. So that's kind of interesting.
You
but
say missed 16 cuts?
no, he's made 16 in a row. Yeah. So
Is this Cockrack?
yes. So Jason's been playing
I
well.
don't even want to know
but,
his first name. It's just
but
he's Cockrack.
Kevin Kisner is kind of where I want to be. It's plus 105 at South Point. And I think anytime you can get Kisner playing well on a positive streak at plus 105 against a nominal player, then we'll take that one. So a few of the others we'll roll here quickly is Brandt Snedeker. This is probably my favorite one of the entire week. Snedeker over Bubba Watson at he was minus 105 on William Hill. I'm not quite sure where it stands right now. But this is a great spot here because there's a player that we like. Snedeker's record is fantastic. He's 8 of 9 with a couple of top 10s.
Minus 105.
Still minus 105, very good.
Yeah.
And he just played well last week. So I'm pretty confident in that sense. And Bubba, I'm fading here on this tournament, so that's a good one. We do have a Nick Taylor bet as well. who the aforementioned weird Canadian, against Sung Kang, -115 on William Hill. Couple on Webb Simpson, one against Paul Casey, one against Gary Woodland. The Gary Woodland one, he's a favorite, -120. Paul Casey +100. If you had to bet one out of those two, I actually prefer Gary Woodland, despite having to lay the juice. I do think that Paul Casey is a guy that he's shown throughout his career he can have a really, really, really bad week and just come back and be fine. Cabrera Bello over Bubba Watson as well, -120. And then rounding it out here, we have Patrick Reed over Jim Furyk. This is another favorite. I hate to be on so many favorites here, but Jim Furyk, I know his record here is amazing, and I realize that he just had a chance to win basically at his home course last week. But there's all of this. This is one of those like yin yang kind of deals that everyone is on one side. It's one of those things. He's now the back to being a Cinderella kind of story, an older guy that is starting to come back. He had a really rough last couple of years, probably the Ryder Cup captaincy.
Even on the Champions Tour, he's kind of struggled.
Yeah, he hasn't really played all that well. So I really think that this is a great time to fade him. If he's going to be matched up against top-end, legit, top-tier, top 20 players in the world like Patrick Reed is, you need to be against him. You need to be against him hard because it's not going to stay like this for very long. Furyk's he's 30-1 or whatever he is this week. He's going to be 100-1 in 2 months in these events, and you're just not going to get matchups like this. So
take advantage while you can.
Exactly. So I know it looks bad, -125, a little uncomfortable, but going to
still see value in that. Yeah.
Exactly. Last couple quickly. Sergio Garcia over the aforementioned Gary Woodland. And John Rahm over Jason Day, -110. That's it for me.
Yeah, I've got four. A few that you probably have mentioned. I like Sneederjans over Reeve at -120. I know you're on the anti-Reeve, and Sneederjans I really like this week.
Sure.
I like Kevin Na over Sung Yi Im at +120.
Im is a really good up-and-coming Korean player. He doesn't have a whole lot of history on the PGA Tour. He had a bunch of sponsor exemptions last year, but he's starting to come along. Again, I'm not like yay or on or against your bet here. I just Im we will start to hear of a lot more as the time goes on. Yeah, fair enough.
Another one I liked is Snedeker over Watson as well at -105.
Yeah, I think that's the best one of the week for me, in my opinion, at least. Yeah.
And then kind of lean towards Stenson over Furyk at +115.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Even like Reed at -130 over Woodland, but don't really love it. So I'm leaning that way, but not sure if I'm going to bet it.
Gotcha.
And I'm fading anybody who's matchup bet against Cockrack.
Fair enough.
Cockrack for the win.
There it is.
All right, so that's gonna put a pin in the Valspar Championship over at Innisbrook in, I don't know if they call it Palm Harbor or Port Richey, whichever one it is. It's kind of in the middle of both. But obviously, if we get more information, more matchup bets from these two, we'll have them out in the Twitter. But hopefully that will be a success this week. Let's talk about, I know you were talking about some of the other tours, and you had a little bit of information and some bets you'd like to put out there.
Sure.
So if there's any other, information or bets you'd like to put out, I mean, hey, money's money, no matter what tour it comes from.
Absolutely. So the European Tour is in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, at the Maybank Championship, and it's fun because this was the first, the first tour stop for the European Tour where they went to Malaysia, and then this was maybe
the European Tour should be in Europe.
Yeah, and they're everywhere now. I think they're
spreading their name, probably trying to get more sponsors and all that, and.
Yeah, they've been doing that. I mean, they're in Africa now at least 2 or 3 times.
That'd be a cool tour to play, though, the European.
It would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I totally
got
agree.
a lot of history on that tour for sure.
Do Americans play that tour at all?
There are some.
A few, but
there are some. Yeah, well, Brooks Koepka came up through the ranks out there. A guy named David Lipsky, who is a Native American, and he's been...
Cockrack.
He did not Did not play out there to
That
my
name is
knowledge.
awesome, even though it's probably co-crack.
Yeah, did not play out there. I mean, maybe a one-off here and there, but no, I don't know about that. But yeah, David Lipsky's been a tour regular for 3 or 4 years, at least, that I can remember. So that's one of those things that if you can get on a tour really anywhere, even if it's, a lot of Americans have played on the Japanese golf tour throughout the years, things like that. It's just get your name out there, get some paychecks, and grow your game. That's really the name of it.
Get against some tough fields and make some top tens or make some runs and try and move up that way for sure.
Absolutely.
So what do you like in this Kuala Lumpur?
Yeah, Kuala Lumpur. So, guy by the name of George.
Speaking of, I have to interrupt you because this is
Sure.
fantastic. It's been just right on my mind before I forget.
Sure.
So, why do the bear community not consider the koala bear a bear?
The bear community? Is this like a joke or is this real? I don't know.
I don't know. I know it's marsupial.
Come on, bear community. I think it's real. It's a joke.
Okay.
I know koala bears are only found in Australia, so
Don't overthink this, guys.
I don't know.
too late.
Yeah.
They didn't approve his qualifications.
That's terrible.
All right, go back.
Jeez, why?
That had to happen. Sorry,
It
shut
had
up.
to? It did?
That had to happen.
Okay. Well, last year's winner in the Maybank Championship, Shubhankar Sharma.
And you're laughing at me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how his first name's tough to pronounce, but
So, what is it?
Shubhankar Sharma.
Yeah.
He's a
I see
very
him on
good,
those.
very good player from India.
That's fantastic. What was the name of that player I texted you guys the other day? Jazz.
Oh, Jazz?
Jazz
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I think he's from Thailand. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's had a couple of
That was
recent
an interesting
top
name, though.
tens.
Yeah.
First name is literally Jazz.
It's a great name.
J-A-Z-Z.
Yeah.
I'm interrupting you. You go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, you wanted to know about any other bets, and so here it is. And now you're talking about koala bear jokes and shit. So yeah.
That was funny.
Okay, so
Qualification.
Sharma really,
I kill myself.
he really came into.
You and the one listener that we have, you killing yourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
That one listener's name is Cockrack.
Maybe he's a listener. I don't know.
That'd be great.
It would actually be awesome.
If so, tweet at us.
Yeah. Sharma really got on the became a household name, at least on the European tour realm, because he had been. First of all, he's probably the most successful player now from India in India's history, which is not a rich golf history, clearly, and he has really transcended the game there. They've now built 3 or 4 golf courses just outside of New Delhi, I believe, and he's really grown the game more than almost anybody in the last
Really
probably
good
couple of
ambassador
years.
for that.
Yeah, it's
demographic.
fantastic. He also made a run, I don't know if you guys remember, in Mexico a couple of years ago when Phil Mickelson, I guess this would have been last year, when Phil Mickelson ended up winning in Mexico. Sharma was the leader after 3 rounds. There was a one-shot lead over
Knew
over
that
Phil.
name sounded familiar.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. He's a short, little stocky guy that just kind of gets it around
He's
the
like
course.
5'3" or something
He's
like that.
really short. Yeah,
That
he's
would be really short.
he's
Yeah, I know.
he's fun. He's fun to watch. And
Who's that midget puking in the toilet?
That was a funny day.
Yeah.
We interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I just figured there was a backstory to that. So
Oh,
yes,
one of my friends, I met him the day I met him. I was like, hey, we were all in this. Actually, it's a golf story. Ironically, we all went up, played Wolf Creek, and we rented a bungalow or a condo. And so I get in, and there's a couple people I hadn't met before, and so I get in, I put my shit down, and I go, hey, where's the bathroom? And they point to where it's located. So I walk over, I open up the door, it's pitch black, like you would expect, the lights off. And there's a little man, puking in the toilet. So I close the door, and I just turn back to everybody, and I go, who's the midget puking in the toilet?
Yeah. He's a good golfer, though.
Turns out to be one of my buddies, Ed, and yeah, he's a really good golfer, really nice guy. He's just not a big man.
Oh, was this from the last night, or was it like during the day?
The first night I had ever.
Oh.
It was the first night before we actually went. We went and golfed it for 2 days, but I'd never met him before, and he's real tiny. He's got to be 5 foot at best.
Okay.
He might be a little taller than that.
Okay, so anyways,
5'2".
but point being is, I'd never met him, and I'm like, who's the midget puking in the toilet? So it was a good story. So.
Yeah.
We interrupted you. So.
No, that's good.
So you're on.
I got another good joke, by the way.
You're on Sharma.
I'm not on Sharma. I was just trying to give some background to the tournament, and then it all hell broke loose with midgets and I don't know,
puking in toilets and qualifications.
Yes,
there's another good joke. I'll tell it after this, though.
Okay. The favorite in this tournament is a guy named Thomas Peters, who I'm a fan of. In most other times, he's a guy I like to be on because he's very hit or miss, very aggressive player, and he can also bomb the hell out of the ball. So it's a lot of fun. On this course, unfortunately, the bombers aren't all that successful. On this course, guys like Sharma, that when they get hot with their iron play and on the green, that's where it's at. It's a tight course. It's in
short game is definitely key on this.
Very much so. It's kind of in the jungle is not the right word, but it's in a forest type land area.
They filmed the Jungle Book on this course, right? I just made that up.
Wow. Okay. So it's that's kind of where we're at here. So I think you want to be fading Thomas Peters. Jorge Campillo is also right there at around 12-1. Peters at 10, and Campillo is another actually kind of bomber for the most part.
Actually, Campillo's 16-1 right now.
He's 16. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. So
it got some added value.
And then the third player that's kind of up there in the 18 to 21 realm is Ryan Fox, who's a one of the longest hitters in the entire world, actually, from Australia. And it's just, I think these are really bad options. So some good ones here. A guy named Jordan Smith, standard sort of British golfer that is very, very streaky and also is really, really good around the green. He is the second best bunker player over the last couple of years on the European Tour, which is kind of strange for a British player. But really, really good. You can get yourself into some trouble on this course if you miss greens and you miss some fairways. And he's a guy that is really, really good at getting out of trouble. He's a very smart, heady player. I like him a lot. I think somewhere in the 20-1 realm or 25 or whatever you can find him at is really good. And then Chris Wood, who is also a British player and has started to enjoy some success again. He was really, really good in his early 20s. This was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Tall, lanky Brit who, again, enjoys playing really well. And you have to almost embrace this part of the world as well because it's so different than when they play in their other European Tour stops and at least on mainland Europe. And Wood has enjoyed a lot of success on this area. He's won twice in Southeast Asia, and a guy that's starting to really play well right now. He's had 2 top 20s in the last three events worldwide. And I think Chris Wood, I have him in the 50 to realm range here. But if you can get something
on William Hill, he's in the field.
He's in the field. Okay, so well, there you go. So those are the two guys that I kind of like in this tournament. But it's a really, really fun event. And if you have some extra time and you're flipping around and on the Golf Channel, it's a cool course. And they love golf in Malaysia. There's now a tour stop on the PGA Tour even in Malaysia. There's one on the LPGA. It's a very, very popular place in Kuala Lumpur. From what I understand, it's a really, really fun city. So, if you have any...
I was looking at odds for this last night, and I saw Jimenez was at 100-1. Now he's dropped down to 75-1.
It's interesting. Yeah, I saw that he was in the field as well. He doesn't play a lot of main European Tour tournaments
he mainly
anymore.
Plays more on the Champions Tour than anything.
But we just brought up the fact of how playing in this part of the world, you have to really love it and embrace it. And Jimenez has loved playing in Asia. He was one of the main guys that was really excited about the European Tour breaking off kind of from mainland Europe and getting into Asia. And he tried to make a point to play in a lot of these events when they were first getting going. So I love
it. Ambassador and all that.
Yep.
I still kind of like him at 75-1, and I know his short game's kind of faltered off a little over the past few years, but he's still got that part of the game still for sure. One of the most interesting men in golf for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, a guy you have to like. I mean, it's so hard not to like.
Another one that's got a lot of imagination around the green and all that, Ernie Els for sure.
Oh, he's in the field here?
Yeah,
okay.
75-1 too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's 2 that I saw for that tournament.
European Tour...
Malaysian golf action.
Malaysian golf action, especially since you can probably watch that right around the time I'm usually working. So,
yeah, that is nice. So you get golf during the day, our regular golf, and then you can watch late night into the early morning as well. So it's great.
Win-win. Mm-hmm. All right, that's going to do it for us. Again, hopefully you can find some good value here to tail, make a little money, or if you fade it, then we don't hope you win. But if you do, great.
Mm-hmm. Good luck to you all in your bets.
Yeah. So, again, we'll thank the sponsors, 12-Ounce Sports Radio, Vegas Puckline Apparel, ChaiPoker.com, and Eric on the Web Productions. Now I realize I don't think I thanked the sponsors in the beginning, but that's all right.
Yeah, we got to them eventually.
Yeah, their checks haven't cleared yet. So, again, for Token Tony, for Tony Johnson, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. Good luck on your bets this weekend in golf. We'll catch you on the next one.